I think at this point, if you must have an actor wear a giant animal costume for your film, chances are it's either a comedy or a tragedy in the making, or both. The last time we looked at a film where the cast had to act in mascot costumes, it wasn't all that good in terms of entertainment, though that didn't stop me from enjoying it, however. It was harmless and cheesy, and it gave me some very interesting insight on Funimation. But it's time to break this streak of only reviewing media made for either children or teenagers. Perhaps it would be a good idea to show some more refined taste and give some reviews of media aimed towards a more mature audience. I've always wanted to delve into more mature or artsy projects on this channel, so now is probably a good time for that. And I have just the film. It's a fantasy adventure filled with politics, murder, mystery, and other exciting things, complete with amazingly designed fursuits. I mean, what more can you ask for? I may have criticized old Chucky for having shoddily made costumes and cheaply made set design, but now I've come across something with a bit more work put into it. It's a small indie film that was created by members of the furry fandom, complete with professional-grade cameras, lighting, and other equipment. This wasn't just slapped together and made to entertain small children. This was a passion project, and it's called BitterLake. Trust is a fickle thing. BitterLake was made back in 2011 by a small crew of European furries, including Shay and Easy Wolf. After premiering at Eurofurence that same year, they decided to put it up on YouTube a few years later, along with some nifty behind-the-scenes footage. That makes it easy to watch, then rip from YouTube and put directly into my video editing software. So, thanks for that. But what is this film about, you may be asking? You've got a kingdom that was torn apart in a huge civil war that lasted over a decade, but once the dust settles and people are demanding for peace, 4 representatives of their respective lands come together to BitterLake to settle a compromise. Amongst their company is a secret assassin from the "we didn't steal this from Bethesda, we swear" Dark Brotherhood. I wonder if that's enough for a C&D or copyright claim. But then again, this film was probably too niche, so they just didn't care. Now, with all this talk of civil war, you would think that there would be more big battles and flashbacks of conflicts that aren't just tweened 2D animations. But one of the problems with this film is that, and don't take this wrong way, nothing actually happens. That's not to say there isn't dialogue or action, but it just doesn't feel important or dramatic. It just feels like one big exposition. Half of the scenes play out like a daytime soap opera, where characters stand around and bicker at each other, and the cinematography doesn't try hard enough to ramp up their conversations. There's actually a scene that lasts more than a minute or two that stays on the same static camera angle, and unless you're someone crazy like Tarantino, then it's just not gonna look nice, trust me. And the other half is people getting stabbed or immaturely choreographed fight scenes. So, sad to say, this film is just boring. Especially since it has the pace of a tortoise, which is not going to be beating a hare anytime soon in a race. Outside of the rather slow action and pacing, I can't say I got too invested in the characters either. I think they had names, and they're listed on the film's website and Wikifur entry. But I'd be damned if I couldn't connect the dots on who is who. All I remember from these characters were their bland personality types. You have stuck-up royal dickbag, a fox obviously up to no good, the girl character, and hypermasculine warlord of misogyny.
Hell's bitches. Leave a woman in charge and they'll come up with the most preposterous ideas. Poison, son. Hell's bitches. Bloody poison! Women act out of emotion, Prince Arden. That is why Osgard refused to take on female soldiers during our enlistment campaigns. They let their hearts guide them.
Oh, and Dickbag's brother, who they keep calling retard for some reason, doesn't really act that way. And despite me describing them as possibly interesting, they really aren't. I can't tell you a single thing about these characters outside of the fact that they're furries and have fancy European accents. I mean, I could tell you what they want and why, but this film takes more pride in trying to flesh out its supposedly amazing fantasy political drama than give them any sort of meaningful dialogue or character development. This might seem kind of random, but If you can't tell what flavor of ice cream they would like or what sort of movie they would enjoy, then I wouldn't call them characters, at least not well-developed ones. I know I mentioned how this looked more professionally made than Chuck E.'s wacky space adventure, but now that I think about it, I may have set the bar a bit low.
What is wrong with you people? I have been repeating the same thing over and over again. I will not abdicate. The throne is my birthright.
Be that as it may, we all have to make concessions if we are to come to some sort of agreement.
Concessions?
Of course. Why didn't I see that one coming? Your darling armies. If there was to be a new High Council, I take it you'd be seated to His August Majesty's right in the High Commander's seat.
The acting is pretty poor, and I can't say much for these quote-unquote lip flaps, which somehow end up being just as bad as Chuck E.'s. At least Funimation made sure to get them movable eyelids. As much as I love Clockwork Creature's work in terms of fursuits as art pieces, I can't say that they work as costumes for a film. I guess realistic resin eyes just look creepier than cartoonier ones that can actually move and blink and give character. Now, I'm not trying to bash someone's passion projects just so I can attack some low-hanging fruit. I actually had some hope for this film and wondered how fursuit performance could translate to film. Just take this as constructive criticism from a fellow filmmaker when I say that this could have been a lot better. And I could go into the story and how it basically meanders and doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I don't really feel like talking about it too much. Not really because of spoilers, but just because it's just not interesting enough. But on a less depressing note, now comes the more important question. How furry is it? Let's take it through my chance system. A handy rubric I use to break down several aspects of furriness, those being cast, harmony, anthropocentrism, narrative, commonality, and expression. Let's look at cast, or how many story-relevant characters there are. The fantasy setting this film creates seems to call for nothing but anthros, so the entire cast obviously should follow suit. Then again, I don't know a whole lot about the world of Valinor, a name which I completely forgot about, even after watching the film twice. But still, in terms of narratively important characters, I give this a perfect 4 out of 4. Now for harmony, or how natural anthros and furries are to the setting, again, no humans in sight outside of the filming crew, and you're not going to see them anytime soon. So it's unremarkable to see a furry in this story. And with such a small cast of bland characters, I'd put this as another solid 4. Moving on to anthropocentrism, or how close these furries are to being human. They walk, they talk, they poorly act, and they sword fight like clumsy children. And if these aren't the most personified furriest of furry behaviors, then I'm not sure what is. Another perfect 4. As for narrative, or how key these furries' animal nature is to the narrative, why is the girl character a horned lion whatever? Does her species even have a name? Is it relevant, or somehow the more common species of where she's from? What about the horned wolf guy? Is he growing out his horns all long like that just to look more badass? What about the other wolves? Or foxes for that matter? What I'm trying to get at is, what the hell are these species, and how do they fit with the setting? Because I'm pretty sure the film doesn't explain it. Kinda seems like they just pulled a bunch of suits out from Clockwork Creature Studios' closet and said, hey, cool, thanks, we'll be back later. And then just assigned them to whoever decided to be in this film. If it was part of the political drama, it wasn't carried out or explained there, so we have our first ever 0 out of 4. And next we have commonality, or how prevalent furries are outside of the main cast. Considering there is just a main cast, I'm not sure how prevalent humans or non-anthros are. Even though they discuss the concept of there being other kingdoms and lands out there, they're more or less like Bigfoot. An anthro majority, in this case, chalks up another 4 out of 4. Finally, we have expression, or how furry they actually look. The resin eyes and actual claws on their paws are a nice detail, even if they might creep some people out when fully realized through fursuit. And the costumes themselves, as a whole, are very distinct in how animalistic they are. The amount of detail and care going into them earns them a 2 out of 4. Tallying up the score, we have a total of 18 out of a possible 24. I don't know whether I should be glad that the film scored higher on furriness than entertainment, and by a long shot at that, but I will give credit when credit is due. to the makers of this film for actually making it. It doesn't seem like a huge step forward in terms of the furry fandom, as the outcome was mediocre at best, but it's definitely a step forward in my opinion. There are plenty of skits on YouTube that feature fursuits and aren't just fursuiters being cute, along with vloggers and analysts and other kinds of YouTubers. And hopefully that continues, but I just wish BitterLake could have been just as good as those other videos. This has been Gregor Hell's Bitches Reindeer with How Furry Is It? Stick around for more anthro-analysis and antler antics. Oh! Again, another big shout out to Abergwine, the person that inspired me to make this series. She has just reached 10,000 subscribers, so go check out her channel, be the 10,001st or whatever, and I'll see you guys later.